So we have the Tudor Black Bay Pro in for review today, and since seeing Bark and Jack's video on his Explorer 2, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to go check that video out. But since seeing Bark and Jack's video on his Explorer 2, I felt like I had to show this watch the way it's really meant to be shown. This is a watch for adventuring, exploring. This isn't a pretty tool watch, but a true tool watch. So this is my Black Bay Pro video.
Where are you going?
I haven't actually sorted that part out yet. I have no money and my passport's expired, so.
Why don't you go to the bakery and get some pastries?
Fine. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I want to go on an adventure.
That is an adventure.
Hello. Can I please get a cherry and raisin Danish? Oh, and what else should we get? Thank you. I envisioned that being cooler than it was. Nonetheless, let's talk about the Tudor Black Bay Pro because it's a seriously cool watch and one worth considering. I've got this watch on loan from our gorgeous, fabulous friend Luke at watch.hightower. If you have a second to go follow him on Instagram as a way to say thank you, and just because he's an all-around top human being, my life is far richer for knowing Luke. Now, let's talk about the Black Bay Pro. So this one debuted at Watches and Wonders 2022 and probably the most exciting watch from Tudor's offerings. The Black Bay Pro pretty clearly takes inspiration from the first Explorer 2, the 1655 or the Steve McQueen, with the 39mm case, fixed bezel, and of course with the GMT hand. This feels like Tudor's take on a classic Rolex, and they're definitely not identical. This is uniquely Tudor, and there's enough differences that I wouldn't qualify this as a homage. The case size harkens to the 1655, but the dial and hands are completely Tudor. Thick, sporty lume plots, a combination of circle and baton indices, the Tudor signature snowflake hands, and yellow accents rather than orange. This dial feels so uniquely Tudor. Also, I haven't seen another review to praise God for this, but no Cyclops. A date with no Cyclops. The symmetry is there. So I've seen it in a few comment sections and I've seen a few people saying, oh, I guess Tudor's a homage brand now. And I see where this is coming from, but I really wouldn't call this a 1655 homage. There are way too many differences between the two, but I expect a spirited debate in the comment section. Also, can you homage yourself? Like, I know Tudor isn't Rolex, but being such a closely linked little sister, isn't it reasonable to expect some family resemblance? If there was a Seiko that looked a lot like a Grand Seiko, would you call that an homage? I don't know. Let's talk specs. The Tudor Black Bay Pro has a stainless steel 39mm case with a thickness of 14.6mm. So she's a beefy bitch, but we'll come back to that wearability in a minute. It has 200 meters water resistance, 20mm between the lugs so you can easily swap out the straps, and of course that yellow hand can either serve as a GMT hand for the person who's traveling regularly, or a 24-hour hand for anyone who might be really into hardcore caving or spending prolonged hours in the darkness. I reckon it's more for the traveler, but... Inside this case, we have the in-house caliber MT5652. It's an automatic movement, COSC certified with 70 hours of power reserve. Everything is set through the crown, so if you unscrew the crown, the first position is manual wind, second position is your independent hour hand and sets the date, and position 3 moves the minute and 24-hour hand. So say you wanted to use this watch for travel, Say I wanted to go back to Toronto. I would set the yellow hand to London time, and I would move the hour hand to Toronto time. Or maybe you send a lot of emails or have a lot of conference calls with people in other time zone. That's where a watch like this comes in really handy. Or perhaps you're one of those people who spends prolonged periods in darkness. The yellow hand now becomes your 24-hour hand. So say it's 1:50 p.m. The yellow hand indicates whether it's AM or PM. It is in the day whenever the hand is at the bottom half of the watch, and it's night if the yellow hand's pointing up anywhere in the top half of the watch. I don't know if anyone cares about this stuff or if you already know this stuff, but these are the geeky little things that make me fall in love with watches like this. Like, I don't need a caving watch, but it's just cool. It's just cool, geeky functionality that I get really excited about. Like, who owns a weird, robust watch made for caving? I don't know, but I just think it's cool, okay? But it's also this functionality that makes it such a thick boy. So it's the Tudor movement with complications such as date and GMT that really adds the size to this watch. And I think this is the biggest deal breaker for me and this watch. Everything else I can get on board with, like 39mm sizing. Yes, get in. Cool functionality, like let's go. But with me and my tiny 6.5-inch wrist, I just think I can't pull off a 39mm watch with this much wrist presence. I may be able to pull it off, like only just, but this is my biggest reservation and would be the reason I wouldn't buy this watch. But I don't think this would be a problem for most people. I just have uniquely small wrists. If you have a 7-inch wrist or smaller, I'd maybe give it a bit of a think, but for a 7.5-inch wrist or larger, it makes it far more wearable, especially for the man who prefers a larger sized watch. The thickness gives it a lot more wrist presence, and you can definitely feel that. It's a very handsome and rugged wear. It's a perfect daily and casual kind of watch. This is a watch that wants to be scratched. It wants scratches and dings, and it wants to be worn rough. If it was just a little tiny bit thinner, I would be after one right now. But for my sized wrist, I'm sized out. Now this movement, the MT5652, has been a little bit of a troublemaker before in the past in the Tudor Pepsi GMT. In some early productions, it had some problems with the date wheel and the date not switching over properly. Tudor has fixed that, and I've had zero problems with the date. So in summary, some of the pros and cons of the Black Bay Pro, starting with the pros: incredibly functional, handsome and rugged looking, great casual daily wear, 200 meters water resistance, a strong in-house movement, no Cyclops date, and a sick clasp. Oh my god, I've not geeked out about the clasp yet. So Tudor has updated the clasp, and I think it's their best one yet. Yeah, I just like things like clasps and stuff. And cons, I personally found this one to be a bit too thick for my wrist, but I think it's quite wearable on a larger wrist. Faux rivets on the bracelet. If you're a member of the faux rivet hating gang, which I'm not, you genuinely don't notice them when you're wearing the watch. But if you are in the faux rivet hating gang, the Black Bay Pro is also available on a hybrid leather and black fabric strap. Or if you get it on the bracelet, which is always my recommendation, it is the 20mm lug width, so it can easily be swapped out for another NATO strap. I can't find many bad things to say about this watch. Tudor continues to make watches that feel like true tool watches. They feel like Rolex, what Rolex was or what Rolex is supposed to be in the romantic's head. I just love what they're doing. Tudor seems to be going more vintage inspiration and vintage sizing, while Rolex stays a little bit more modern. This watch is a reminder of the family connection between Rolex and Tudor, but they are still uniquely themselves. But as always, guys, these are just some of my thoughts. I would love to hear some of yours. What do you think to this watch? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Does it speak to you? Do you think, nah, it's not for me? I don't know. Let us know everything in those comments down below. And as always, don't forget to do those wonderful things to feed the YouTube algorithm gods. Give this video a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. We're growing faster than I ever thought this weird little channel would. So thank you to everyone who subscribed to GringaTube. And until next time, you beautiful, gorgeous, fabulous watch nerds.